What should I do?
What should I do?
What should I do?
What should I do?
What are my rights? What are my rights?
What are my rights?
A legal course of action.
A legal course of action.
A legal course of action.
A legal Morse of action.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new, this is episode 28 of Legal Morse of Action. I'm Patricio, and as always, I'm joined by attorney Erin Morse. How you doing, Erin?
Oh, I'm so good. How are you?
I'm beyond excited. I am very, very happy. It's Friday. It's almost closing time.
It's almost closing time.
Oh my God. I just noticed the background. I'll put you up on the big screen. Stand by. Oh.
I made this.
I'm sorry. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Right? She's perfect.
Oh my God. It's always a pleasure to have Lily in the office. How you doing, Lily?
Sweet. She said I'm good.
Awesome. So this being Friday, we're about to close shop in a little bit. What's your plan for your week, and how you unwinding from this hectic week?
Well, I have soccer
Okay.
with my son has a soccer game, so we're gonna go to that. Lily said she'll be willing to come. And we are going to work on Lily's room because it's not completely done, because you don't move babies into their room until you feel like it, I guess.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because they wake up so often that the easiest thing to do is to just have them be like in your room.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't want to be running upstairs every time.
I was gonna say, is it overstimulating them if you put them in their own room at an early age?
No, it's more like parents are, lazy.
Okay.
We are tired, and often they just require so much attention that it's easier to leave her in a bassinet in our room. So.
Let me put this up. Sorry, going back and forth from the ticker, and there we go. Okay. So, we do have questions. We do have
sweet
Erin
question.
reacts, but I do want to talk to you about something that I actually messaged you this over the weekend. I think it was last weekend, and I want to build up the story leading up to it because I'd asked you, can a kid sue if he had the resources?
Oh, yeah. So, no, under the age of 18, they would not be able to file a lawsuit on their own. They would have to have someone, either their parent file on their behalf or someone as, quote unquote, their next friend. So that's how that would go down. They wouldn't be able to file a lawsuit for you stealing their candy.
Yeah, that was where it all came from. We were heading out to the parks, and I looked at my girlfriend's daughter's bowl of Halloween candy, and I just started grabbing some. And then when we came back, I grabbed some more, and and I'm like, oh crap! I've actually taken a good significant amount of candy over the past day and a half, and I thought to myself, what if she could, sue me for taking her candy, for stealing her property, and then that's the whole thing of me asking you. So basically, it would have to be on a parent or someone over the age of 18.
Yeah.
So, let's say, for example, little Joey has, somehow has a ton of money, and he asks could he ask an older brother, or could he ask just anyone over the age of 18 to file on their behalf?
So it would depend. Usually, it would be the parents, unless it was something against the parents.
Okay.
So, it's that can come up where the children have a lot of money when they're child stars. So those kind of lawsuits happened a lot. They happened a lot in Florida and in California. But generally, it's child stars who have that argument.
Dang, that sucks. And
So
it's wild because like it's the kid who's doing all the work, getting out there, doing all the acting, doing all the appearances.
Yes and no. I agree that the kid is doing all the work, but you think the kid got there by themselves, right?
Fair,
The parents
fair.
brought them, probably sacrificed their own career, sacrificed maybe, needs of other children. Like, it does take a full family dedication for that to happen. So the child doesn't really get there on their own.
I love it. Before we started, I think if you're okay with this next week, I would love to have Lily have her own camera.
Yeah, sure.
And questions or whatever we can throw them out there. But I wanted to ask you also in regards to kids' rights. And this is where I kind of want to dive into a little bit of the comic book world because every week when it comes to the topics or questions, we try to relate it to something more. How would I say it? More fun.
Okay.
And I think we talked about this guy beforehand, but I kind of want to bring him up because, in my eyes, he is the greatest superhero that has ever grazed the pages of comics, and that's Batman.
Oh, I love Batman.
I love
Batman.
Superman
too.
Superman's cool.
Yeah, but Batman had to make himself. Superman is Superman underneath his costume.
Fair.
Batman is the costume. Superman is Superman. His costume is Clark Kent. Just saying.
No. I agree with you. And even though
Super Dave would agree with me.
Batman, not having any powers, would he still be considered a superhero or just a hero?
Batman?
Yeah, Batman.
He's just a, rich spoiled brat.
I mean, so is Tony Stark. Yeah,
It's true.
Tony Stark is.
I think it still makes them superheroes. Their power, in my opinion, is their intelligence and diligence in creating this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a superpower.
Okay.
Okay.
So the question going into it, we all know the story of Batman. Bruce Wayne as a child, his parents were murdered in front of him, and as the years went on, he started learning the art. He started learning, fighting skills and all that stuff, and blah blah blah. He becomes Batman. Now, I know in referencing the films and the movies, when Bruce and when Thomas and Martha Wayne were killed, Alfred Pennyworth, which was his the live-in butler, had power. I mean, a guardianship over Bruce Wayne.
Right.
Now, I remember asking you this beforehand in regards to a guardianship for a child. Could it be put in a last will and testament?
It can. And in general, the courts will consider it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not dispositive. So meaning that it's not a guarantee. The best interest of the minor child would still be something that the court is always going to consider.
Okay. So with that being said, funeral passes. Bruce Wayne is now orphaned, and I'm sure in the last will and testament for Thomas Wayne that he would inherit all this.
Yeah, of course.
Now,
He was the heir to the throne.
Heir to the throne. What kind of stipulations do you think would have been put in place? Thinking Bruce Wayne, not Bruce Wayne, Thomas Wayne being a genius businessman, probably covered every corner. But
He was a surgeon.
Huh?
He was a surgeon.
He was a doctor. You're right.
He was not a businessman. He hired businessmen.
You're right. So do you feel like he would have covered everything to take care of Bruce in the unlikely event something would have happened?
Yeah, he would have set it up in a type of a trust or something like that for Bruce Wayne to be provided for, and for an adult, Alfred, to oversee that.
Okay. So I'm sure, because I did do a little bit of estate planning beforehand, and you could set up a trust for the guardian, so they don't waste their money, and they're using the funds from the estate to take care of the child, and of course themselves in a sense.
Right.
So Bruce Wayne having all this fortune, but technically not really being his until he would be 18.
No, it's his.
It's his.
It's his.
So
And the guardian just assists them in doing it so that, again, a child doesn't spend $1 million on lollipops.
yeah.
And not have enough money to pay rent and bills and electricity and clothing and private tuition, right? Of
Yeah.
course, you went to a private
Of
school.
course.
So those kind of things. That's the overarching balance that the person who's the guardian, but it is the child's money. So if the child is like, and again, it's going to be within some parental discretion, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to go to this private school. I want to go to another one. That really should be taken into consideration.
But
Crazy.
at the end of the day, I mean, and you've said this multiple times when we talk to clients, children have no rights.
True, but they can have ownership of things.
Okay.
They can't enter into contracts. They can enter into certain contracts, but they are voidable.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So a child. So let's say, for example, I was 8 years old and my uncle passes away, and he leaves me his house.
Yep.
Would that have to go through a guardianship, or would the house legally?
I mean, it would have a legal process that needs to happen. But yeah, you could own the house in your name. If you had children, you could put your children on the name of the house.
Oh,
You
interesting.
could put your children on a credit card, like as an authorized user to start building their credit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
I
wild.
did not know that. Thanks, Mom.
You know?
Oh, man. But, okay, so that kind of covers in regards to what legal rights little Bruce Wayne had after his parents, went bye-bye.
Right.
So he would have access to his estate. He would have access to his funds. But with Alfred Pennyworth being the guardian, in a sense, and, like, do you feel like he would have power of attorney on behalf of Bruce Wayne, or?
Yeah. He would have a lot of signatory rights.
Oh, okay. Oh, Lily.
This is what it's like to be a mom and a employee. Hey, hi.
She's just freaking adorable. We gotta start putting her more and more and more into TikToks. Okay, so we do have questions, and I kind of like surrounding around the area of children's rights. Okay, and okay, first question. Like I said, this one. Can a father in the U.S. be forced to pay back child support for support to the ex who moved to England 15 years ago with no contact until now?
Yes.
So whatever he owes, even though she moved out of the country.
Yeah, so the theory behind this is that the children have a right to be supported, whether one of the parents are a bad actor or not.
Ah, okay.
That's really, the ultimate analysis, is that the children have a right to be supported regardless of how crappy their parents are. So.
Yeah, but dang, having to ask this question, like, do I still have to pay?
But, and here's the problem, is that question is asked under the assumption that the money is going to the mother.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that's the person who has the money, who takes it, and who spends it, but that is the way that it's...
Oh, turn the mic so the words are facing you.
This.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
That is the analysis as to, what child support is for. So people, oftentimes payors of child support, are like, I don't want to give them any money. Well, it's not for them. It's for the children. And again, it's also to make sure that the children have a place to live, like a home, and that the children have, hot water and gas and electricity so that their food can be cooked and they can have a refrigerator. So, all of those things are what's being paid for. It's not, buying them sneakers and clothes. If you're like, every time I see him, his clothes are old. Maybe she really still can't afford clothing after rent and electricity and stuff,
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happens with these cases.
No, and I hear a lot of these like stories like that from friends and close colleagues that it's either the child's father who's not paying or just refuses to pay or whatever excuse they have, and it takes a toll on the mother and it takes a toll on the child. But
yeah, because you should always consider that that child support first goes to rent.
Mm-hmm.
So if the amount of child support that one pays is less than rent and electricity and, the basic bills to have a household, then that's where you can consider all of your child support went to, is to make sure that, they have a place to live.
Yeah.
So, that's so anyway, in sum, yes, you have to pay your child support no matter how crappy your co-parent is.
Or no matter where they live.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much for that.
We have a case where dad moved to England with the child, and mom lived here, and they were coming after her for child support. England contacted the United States, like this, whatever their equivalent of the Department of Revenue is, contacted our Department of Revenue and initiated a cause of action to get child support.
I love the British accent. I know that was just so random, but
I was like, oh, write that down.
it's always like just like, oh, you sound like a really interesting person.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah, I know.
We fought a war because they're not. They ate beans for breakfast. We needed to fight that war.
All right, next question. My son's dad recently moved 3 hours away. Is he responsible for transportation?
Well, generally 3 hours away probably is in Florida, right? Of course, my responses are exclusive to Florida law.
Yeah, Florida alone.
A relocation, the statute for relocation is triggered, which is 60 miles, but as the crow flies. And the way that I like to explain this to people so that they understand is if you and I were to take a very long 50, 60 mile piece of yarn and hold it with 2 helicopters above all the buildings, that's the distance, okay? If it's a 3-hour drive, it's likely beyond that. So what would be triggered in this instance is that they violated it, right? So you could file for a violation of that. If it's not the 60 miles, then what you can file for is that it's still a modification because of how far the distance is. So you probably have other issues that you're going to have to deal with. The child going to school, what your time sharing looks like if you're that far away, because the child can't be in the car for 3 hours, 3 times a week.
Oh, hell no.
That's a little excessive. So
3 hours going, 3 hours coming. I mean,
well, they're not going to have it both ways, right? Because they're only traveling half the distance.
well, I mean, if it's, oh yeah, true.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah.
Big brain energy right here. So, that's what's happening, in that kind of a case. So it still could trigger a modification, even if it's under the 60 miles in the statute. So, you've got some work to do. So but moving 3 hours away doesn't automatically go, oh, he's responsible for transportation.
It looks like she's hungry.
No? I just fed her.
Oh.
I fed her right before we started. She's tired, so
Aw. Lily.
she's trying to get comfortable and she can't. It's hard being a baby. You don't know how to be a person.
Where? Oh, there was. Okay, I do have something for you for reacting. I'm going to pull up the next question and start getting it ready for that segment. So the next question coming up: can my lawyer call my daughter's school to receive information if there's a temporary restraining against me from the mother?
Well, your lawyer doesn't need to call the school. You can call the school. Who you have a restraining order against is the mother, not the school.
Okay, back down. Sorry, pulling up the next one.
So you really don't need your lawyer to do it, and your lawyer's not your secretary, as a reminder. They don't just call and get information. They're not going to call every week and do that. That's really not your lawyer's position or their job to be doing that. So in general, you should be calling the school, and if they won't allow you to do that, if you have a court order giving you shared parental responsibility, meaning you have permission to speak with the school, then you'll have to take some additional action. And many times it's not action against the school, it's action against the other parent. So I really dislike when I have clients come to me and they're like, how can the school do this? I'm like, listen, buddy, you have to realize that they are just trying to manage this, right? They are not family law lawyers. They don't know how to deal with your crappy co-parenting. Don't make it hard on them, because then it harms your child. So what you need to do is it is the obligation of the other parent to ensure that the information is passed between the parties. So again, try to go after the other parent. So make sure that the other parent provides some sharing of information. That's really what you need to worry about, is the other parent sharing information.
Give me 30 more seconds of information. I'm pulling up the video.
So schools a lot of time have attorneys, and if it's necessary that we need to reach out to the school directly to provide the court orders, we can do that. They usually have counsel. There's usually a way to figure that out. Generally, what I would advise is reaching out to the school, asking the school to see what their policy and procedure is in figuring out how they can make sure that they're sharing the information with both parents. And if you feel like you're not getting the information, the answer to that is not immediately call your lawyer, right? It's go to the school, it's try a first time, try a second time, try a third time, be kind, be polite, don't be rude to the school, don't write a stupid letter. I know who I'm looking at. Write a letter. I don't consent to my children being in this school. Like, you don't be doing that, because then the school will call DCF on you because you're acting crazy. Mm-hmm. Again, that's another issue I had with a client here. Don't be crazy, crazy. It's unnecessary, right? And you just, again, you harm your children by this. You harm your children by behaving in this manner. So it's something that you should always remove the school from, right? Don't let them be involved in the diatribe of nonsense that you have going on with your difficult co-parent.
Boom. Mic drop on that one. But don't drop the mic. We need them.
So.
All right. Let's see. We got 3 more questions. And we're trying to zoom through this one for a Friday so we can all get out of here. The question coming up: can my ex-husband call my employer to ask if I applied for a full-time job?
Yeah, but they're not. You can do whatever you want, right? So, that's kind of a question of what will your employer do.
Yeah.
If your ex-husband is calling your job about that stuff, again, proving it's going to be an issue, but you probably should just put your employer on notice of what's happening with your ex, because and make sure that they ignore it. But in general, a random person calling and being like, did so and so apply for a new job? They're not going to be like, let me look at that and give you this information, random caller. I'd really like to communicate confidential information within our offices. There's likely going to be a gatekeeper, and they're probably not going to be able to get that information. So go have a serious conversation with your employer, maybe speak to someone in HR, ask what you can do, that he's harassing you. And usually employers are supportive, but, don't. Also, what you don't want to do is you don't want to feed the bear. You don't want to put this in a position where your ex is getting, good information and material from this. So just have your employer be on notice and not to share your information.
Keep them in the loop. Keep them in the loop. All right, 2 more questions. Here we go. Question second before last. In the state of Florida, can a parent terminate their own rights and walk away with no financial or legal responsibility?
Yeah. No, generally not. You can't just be like, you know what? I'm out. Right? Because if that were the case, I think every deadbeat dad involved in the DOR would just enter that line.
I'm out.
Right. So the state has a vested interest in parties having parents. The state's vested interest is, first of all, constitutional rights, parenting, loving your children. They're so wonderful. Really, the state has a right of children to be supported, which is how they can come after you for child support, even if you withhold time sharing. The other parent does that to you. So even if you I don't like that kid, I don't want to be their dad. They're like, cool, you'll pay for it. So, you can walk away and not see your child, I suppose, but you have no financial responsibility is probably not going to happen. So no, you can't.
Sorry, still got to pay the bill, buddy.
Yeah, right.
And last question for today. Can I keep my son at my house until I have court with his father? We don't have a parenting plan.
If you are not married, you do not need to engage in shared parenting because until he goes to court and establishes his rights, he has no rights or no time sharing. However, you should consider the fact that it may look poorly upon you as withholding the child. So you don't want to be seen in that light, potentially. But, it's going to depend on your circumstances and, what's going on in your case and how it's ultimately resolved. But there's not a lot of recourse for refusing time sharing with an unmarried couple. There isn't. Not a whole lot. He's got to go to court, and then he gets his time sharing once it's ordered.
So I actually got thrown a question through Facebook the other night, and I gave the number so they can set up a consultation because I can't answer the question. But I wanted to ask you to see your thoughts. Kind of like the same scenario where there's no parenting plan involved. Paternity had not been established. But once again, the guy is screaming, "I'm on the birth certificate. I have rights." Now, we're not mocking, but that's how it really sounds from a legal aspect. And he had asked, he's like, my kid already got COVID. I feel that my kid already has natural antibodies, but my baby mom still want him to have the shot. And
do that. You have no rights.
I didn't want to.
You ought to look, bro.
Part of me was like, oh God, I just want to shut you up and just tell you, bro, you don't have any rights. You done fucked up, Aaron. And yeah, I gave him the number for him to call in, but he hasn't. But the question,
that's his own fault, right?
Yeah.
Him, and this is, I want to get on this soapbox, right? It's not fair that I don't have any rights and I can't make any decisions on my kid. Cool, you should contact an attorney or set up a consultation. Silence, right? Then they come back and they're like, it's not fair that I can't see my kid and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, first of all, sir, the solution to this problem is in front of you. You have a way to solve this problem, to get the remedy that you need in a way that you want it. And you have actively chosen not to do so. So at this point, you don't need a solution. You need a complaint box because that is what you're doing.
Oh.
Okay? So every time that someone who takes no action to solve the problem just complains, you should remind them that what they should do is write it down on a Post-it note and put it in their own pocket. And that's where that information belongs. Nowhere. Right? Because, unless you're going to solve the problem, you really, and you have the solution, you really don't have a right to complain. Mm-hmm. So I have no sympathy when we're like, hey, this is how you could solve that problem. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, but okay. Okay, good luck.
Yeah, I need to get some of those people out of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
La, living my life.
Anywho, so those were all the questions for this week. We thank all the listeners for sending in the questions. It's always fun to find out more about them and their crazy lives. And it's always cool for you, Erin, to give like some clairvoyance in regards to what could happen. But once again, I didn't say it at the beginning of the show. Listenership does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. Please consult a licensed attorney for any legal matter that you are facing or wish to pursue. Each case is different. Just because Sally next door got her kid the next day doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. Okay. So, Erin.
Yes.
I saw this the other day on TikTok, and I fell in love. And even when I have a child, I would love to get this thing because it looks amazing, and it's I feel it's entertaining for a baby. And let me pull it up for you. No, I don't want to do that. Sorry, I should have this already pulled up.
She's chewing on my hand.
So this right here is a little cactus.
Okay.
So every time that the child speaks, it mimics. And I wish I could put up the volume. Let me do it like this.
That is so cute.
What are your thoughts on that little cactus toy?
I think that thing is adorable. Lily is just getting into using her voice, so sometimes we can't tell if it's like happy sounds or angry sounds, because I think she's gonna be an assertive woman like me. So when she coos, she's like, yeah, so.
I mean, she does come from a long line of very powerful women.
Yeah. So my son, when he was a baby, what's funny about that is, her not having like, oh, coo. She's not like that. My son had a very deep cry. So it was just deep. It sounded normal to me because he was my first baby, and this is what I know. So to me, it sounded like a baby.
Okay.
But all of my, me and my brother and two of my cousins all had a baby in the same year, within about 6 months of each other, to be honest.
Ooh.
We all had babies. So that year there were 4 babies born, and Connor just had this like super deep voice compared to the other baby.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, could you mimic it? Or?
I mean, I'm gonna mimic it like sarcastically because
Yeah.
to me it sounded like a regular baby because he was my only baby. I'm like, this is a baby. This sounds like a baby. Okay. So I always would, when I would kind of make fun of it amongst my friends, I'd be like, wah, wah. Didn't really sound like that. I don't know. He had a deep cry, I guess. Compared to them, they were all like, his cry is so deep. I'm like, yeah, your babies sound like hamsters. Like, I don't know. Like, it's weird. Why do they squeak like that? It's so high pitched. I don't get it. So, babies are interesting creatures.
Babies are beautiful. Babies are
then
awesome.
they grow up, right? Then they turn into, bald guys who call themselves Rocky.
I'm not bald. I choose to cut my hair short. I choose to cut my hair short.
Oh, that's so funny.
All right. So as we're wrapping up, Erin, you're entering the weekend.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff has happened in the world, whether it's the trial for Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh, yeah, that's been ongoing, huh? I heard that the prosecution's not having a great go of it.
No, they're not. It's like it honest to God, it's got like the stylings of the Casey Anthony all over again.
Oh,
where like they're just dropping.
Don't remind me.
They're just
so embarrassing.
They're just dropping the ball. And I mean, the events at Travis Scott's concert at Astroworld this past weekend.
Oh yeah, that was pretty tragic. Do we understand why it happened? Was it just them rushing the stage?
Well, there's a lot of speculation, but like
Right.
one of the big things that is floating around the air right now is that before the concert, everyone knew that it was sold out. But Travis Scott had put a tweet saying to like, oh, just show up, sneak in, figure it out, kind of like not telling them to, bum rush, but
Right.
in a sense like, hey, figure it out, come into the concert, have a great time. And
That's like a book there's a book and on the cover, or maybe what it's called, it says "Steal This Book."
Oh,
Yeah.
I've heard of that. I heard of that.
It's funny.
Yeah, no.
Funny, you witty.
And thousands of people bum rush the concert, and as of today, 9 people have died from this incident. And
It's really sad.
It's like everyone's pointing the finger at whether it's for the promoter, Travis Scott themselves, the crowd. It's a really bizarre case, and there's I think 43 or 46 current lawsuits that were filed since this event
Wow.
happened over the weekend.
So you want to hear something funny? I went to a Trey Kennedy comedy show yesterday.
Oh, so it was comedy.
It was comedy.
Okay.
I find him very funny. And he made a joke about, because everybody had to be COVID tested. So my husband and I get COVID tested. We go there, we show our phones, I say our negative COVID result. Then when we get there, they're like, but this doesn't have your name on it. We're like, what? We got COVID tested. So they had a little rapid COVID test station. So we had to go get the rapid COVID. But we were annoyed because it was like 20 minutes later for us to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And so Trey Kennedy makes a joke about it. He goes, I've gotten a lot of like messages or emails that, whatever's being done about COVID in our unprecedented times is annoying and frustrating, and they were going to come to my concert, but then that was there. And so he makes a joke and he goes, yeah, because, I don't know how people don't know that this is the venues putting this on. He goes, because in an unprecedented pandemic, all of these professionals go, you know who has the answers? A 28-year-old TikToker. So my comment on that is related to Travis Scott himself probably not being the person that they're going to find as liable.
Of course not.
It's going to be, the venue and the people who were in charge of, setting these up. But, I don't know how far they'll get if they're going to analogize his Twitter comments as like inciting a riot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to see the lawsuits that come out of this, which likely they'll settle and we won't get a fun court battle about it.
No, it's tragic.
Yeah.
Festivals like this are set, to kind of help you forget about what's going on in the world, for you to escape for a few hours.
Yeah.
And this incident happens, and it's saddening to the families who've lost someone from this. There was a 9-year-old, I think.
That's a line I'd be. Why was he at a Travis Scott concert?
Oh.
But I don't want to blame that. That isn't that isn't what the problem is here. The problem is that he, at a concert you shouldn't expect to lose your life.
Exactly.
So, or be injured, really, right?
I hope. I mean, this weekend I'm attending a 3-day music festival where there's an estimated 70 to 80,000 people in one field. So
be careful.
I will be.
So
I what's this? The similarities of a tank. So hopefully I'll be okay. But my girlfriend who's
physical presence.
Yeah, physical presence. My girlfriend who's like a 10th size of me. I'll just have her on my shoulders during this whole thing. But your final thoughts, Erin, as we venture into the abyss of the weekend.
My final thoughts are that be careful at concerts. 28-year-old TikTokers are probably not making the rules on what to attend. And if you have a legal issue or a legal problem and you do nothing about it, you're just complaining. So if you choose not to take action on what you have complaints about, that's your fault. It then becomes your fault. If a solution is available and you choose not to take it, there's no one to blame but yourself.
See you guys next week.